motorcycle manufacturers buried something in their legal departments that would make your jaw drop. What if I told you there are bikes sitting in warehouses right now that are too powerful, too fast, or too extreme to ever touch American pavement? That's not conspiracy theory talk. We're talking machines banned by federal agencies because engineers literally couldn't help themselves. Imagine a motorcycle with a V10 car engine producing 500 horsepower, another powered by an actual fighter jet turbine, and one so fast that tire companies refuse to let it reach full speed. And in this video, I'm counting down 17 motorcycles that exist in a legal twilight zone where the law, physics, and common sense all say, absolutely not. And trust me, number one is so ridiculous that the government couldn't even figure out what category to ban it under. Stick with me to the end, because what I'm about to show you proves that some machines are just too dangerous, too powerful, or too insane for the roads we're allowed to ride on. Number 17, the Bimota DB3 Mantra. The Bimota DB3 Mantra from the mid-90s represents a special kind of regret. This Italian exotic wrapped a 90-horsepower Ducati engine in bodywork so divisive that even die-hard collectors struggled to defend it. Designer Sasha Lakic created something that looked like it belonged in a museum of modern art rather than on the street. The problem wasn't performance or legality. The DB3 was mechanically sound. The issue was that almost nobody wanted to be seen on one. High-end limited production meant astronomical initial pricing. Controversial styling meant immediate buyer's remorse. The result was catastrophic depreciation that turned early adopters into cautionary tales. Owning a DB3 Mantra doesn't feel illegal because of what it does. It feels illegal because of what it did to your bank account. Number 16, the Honda NM4 Voltus. Honda built the NM4 Voltus between 2014 and 2016 as a love letter to anime and science fiction. The design pulled heavily from futuristic aesthetics that looked incredible in concept sketches, but translated awkwardly to three-dimensional reality. Powered by a modest 54 horsepower parallel twin, the Voltus was completely street legal and mechanically competent. So why does it feel forbidden? Because the traditional motorcycle community rejected it almost immediately. Riders who bought into the vision found themselves constantly defending their choice. The radical styling generated confusion at gas stations and ridicule at bike nights. Depreciation hit hard and fast. The Voltus proves that cultural rejection can be just as punishing as federal prohibition. Sometimes a bike feels illegal simply because society decided it shouldn't exist. Number 15, the Suzuki B-King. Take the legendary Hayabusa engine, detune it slightly, then wrap it in the most aggressive naked bike styling imaginable. That's the B-King formula. Suzuki unleashed this beast between 2007 and 2012 with around 184 horsepower and massive torque on tap. The engineering was impeccable. The Hayabusa power plant had already proven itself bulletproof. But the market took one look at those angular, bulky, muscular lines and collectively shrugged. Some loved it. Most didn't. The B-King landed on every controversial motorcycle list published since its release. Despite having one of the most capable engines ever fitted to a production bike, the styling choices doomed it commercially. Owners found themselves riding something that divided opinion everywhere they went. The B-King feels illegal because it dared to be different and paid the price for that ambition. Number 14, the Honda VFR 750RR C30. Honda built the RC30 between 1987 and 1990 for one purpose: homologation. Racing rules required a minimum production run of street bikes before a manufacturer could compete in superbike championships. The result was a pure racing machine with license plate brackets. The 750cc V4 produced 118 horsepower and featured the innovative Pro-Arm single-sided swing arm designed for rapid wheel changes during endurance races. The RC30 was a technological showcase wrapped in solo seat, race-focused bodywork. Here's the problem. it was never officially sold in the US during its production run due to strict importation laws. American enthusiasts watched from across the ocean as this legend dominated racetracks worldwide. Now that early examples qualify under the 25-year import exemption rule, Americans can finally own one legally. But ownership comes with a massive asterisk. The RC30 is a fish out of water on public streets. Gear-driven cam components and race-spec construction mean maintenance costs that would make a Ducati owner wince. It's not illegal to own anymore. It just feels that way every time you write a check to your mechanic. Before we continue, if you're the kind of person who appreciates engineering that pushes boundaries, you'll want to see where this list goes. Hit that subscribe button because the machines we're about to discuss make the RC30 look tame. Number 13, the MV Agusta F4cc. MV Agusta built exactly 100 F4cc models in 2007, each one priced at $120,000. Named after company head Claudio Castiglione, this limited edition exotic packed a 1,078 cubic centimeters inline four, generating a substantial 200 horsepower. Carbon fiber components, advanced internal engine work, and meticulous attention to detail justified the eye-watering price tag. The F4cc could accelerate like a missile and handle like a scalpel. But here's where things get interesting. MV Agusta electronically limited the top speed to 195 miles per hour. Not because of government regulations, not because the engine couldn't go faster. They limited it because Pirelli, the tire manufacturer, couldn't guarantee that any available street tire could safely exceed that velocity. Think about that for a moment. This motorcycle was banned by physics and material science rather than lawmakers. The engine had more to give. The chassis could handle it. But the rubber connecting the machine to the road said no. The F4cc represents power so extreme, it exceeded contemporary safety engineering capabilities. That's a special kind of forbidden. Number 12, the Triumph Rocket 3. Triumph looked at the motorcycle landscape in 2004 and asked a simple question. What if we just made the engine bigger than everyone else? Not a little bigger, dramatically, absurdly, almost offensively bigger. The first generation Rocket 3 packed a 2,294 cubic centimeter inline three-cylinder engine. That's 2.3 liters, larger than many contemporary car engines. This massive power plant generated 148 horsepower, but the real story was torque. 163 pound-feet at just 2,750 RPM meant brutal, instant thrust from virtually any speed. The whole package weighed nearly 800 pounds wet. The Rocket 3 was completely street legal in the US. No regulatory violations, no emissions problems, no safety concerns from a federal perspective. So why does it feel illegal? Because it physically and psychologically exceeds what seems reasonable for a two-wheeled vehicle. Riding it feels like wrestling with physics itself. The mass, the torque, the sheer presence of that engine create an experience that constantly teeters on the edge of being too much machine for one person to control. Legal on paper, borderline insane in practice. Number 11, the Ducati 999. Sometimes feeling illegal has nothing to do with performance or regulations. Sometimes it's about betrayal. Ducati's 999 series, produced from 2003 to 2006, was a fully capable superbike featuring a Testastretta L-twin engine, producing up to 150 horsepower in R trim. The engineering was sound. The performance was excellent. The problem was designer Pierre Terblanche committed what Ducati faithful considered an unforgivable sin. He abandoned the iconic 916 design language. The 916 was considered one of the most beautiful motorcycles ever created. The 999 looked nothing like it. Critics accused Terblanche of prioritizing function over form, engineering over art. The Ducatisti revolted, sales suffered. Interestingly, riders who actually bought the 999 discovered it was mechanically superior to the 916 in several ways. Better ergonomics, improved cooling, more refined power delivery. It didn't matter. The market had spoken. Ducati got the message and reverted to 916-inspired styling with the subsequent 1098 model. Owning a 999 feels illegal because you're writing evidence of a billion-dollar company's acknowledged mistake. You're piloting the bike that Ducati wants everyone to forget about. Number 10. The Virus 987 C34V. Italian manufacturer Virus takes a Ducati 1,198 cubic centimeter L-twin engine producing 165 horsepower, strips the bike down to a featherweight 159 kilograms dry, then does something radical. They eliminate the front forks entirely. The Virus uses hub-center steering, replacing conventional telescopic forks with a complex swing-arm linkage system. This design offers theoretical advantages in handling precision and braking stability. It also creates a logistical nightmare. The Virus might technically be importable through specialized channels, but maintaining it becomes an exercise in frustration. The proprietary hub-center system means conventional mechanics can't touch it. Parts availability is extremely limited. Service requires either factory support or one of maybe a handful of technicians worldwide who understand the system. The Virus represents engineering ambition, creating its own form of practical prohibition. You might be able to own one legally. Good luck keeping it running without dedicating serious resources to the cause. Number 9. The Honda NR750. Honda's NR750 from 1992 was a technological middle finger to conventional wisdom. Between 300 and 800 units were produced, each one a showcase of engineering excess. The 750 cubic centimeter V4 engine used oval pistons, not round pistons like every other motorcycle on Earth. Oval ones. This allowed 8 valves per cylinder and gear-driven cams, letting the engine scream to 14,500 RPM while producing 116 horsepower. The complexity was staggering. The price was even more shocking. Over $50,000 in 1992 money plus taxes. Critics called it a failure disguised as a success. The nickname Never Ready stuck. The NR750 offered no practical performance advantage over conventional Honda VFR models that cost a fraction of the price. But here's where it gets interesting from a legal perspective. The NR750 qualifies for the highly restrictive show or display exemption from NHTSA. This program allows importation of vehicles with significant historical or technological value produced in extremely limited numbers. The catch? You can only drive it 2,500 miles per year. The NR750 is a brilliant, costly engineering experiment that remains perpetually restricted from practical use. It's an artifact, not a motorcycle. Number 8. The Suzuki Hayabusa Generation 1. The first generation Hayabusa, launched in 1999, was completely street legal. The 1299 cubic centimeter inline 4 produced around 173 horsepower. No emissions violations, no safety issues, full federal compliance. So why does it feel illegal to own? Because it scared governments so badly that it forced the entire motorcycle industry into self-imposed speed restrictions. The Hayabusa became the first production motorcycle regularly exceeding 186 miles per hour. Some stock examples push close to 200. European and Japanese regulators started making threatening noises about mandatory speed limiters. Rather than wait for legislative action, major manufacturers entered a gentleman's agreement in 2000. All subsequent superbikes would be electronically limited to 186 miles per hour maximum. The pre-agreement Hayabusa represents a brief moment when manufacturers dared to build bikes that could reach their true potential. Owning a Gen 1 means owning a piece of history from before the industry blinked. It feels illegal because that level of performance became politically unacceptable almost immediately after it was achieved. Number 7. The Aprilia RS 250. The Aprilia RS 250 was a miniature Grand Prix weapon built between 1994 and 2004. The 247 cubic centimeter two-stroke V-twin, borrowed from the Suzuki RGV 250, produced 52 horsepower at 9,500 RPM in a package weighing just 141 kilograms. This power-to-weight ratio made it one of the most thrilling bikes available in its displacement class. The handling was razor-sharp. The sound was intoxicating. The smoke trailing from the exhaust was visible proof of its racing heritage. It was also completely banned from U.S. sale due to EPA emission standards. The two-stroke engine's inherently high hydrocarbon output made federal certification impossible. American enthusiasts resorted to gray market imports, riding bikes that existed in legal limbo. Get caught, face potential seizure. Early RS-250 models are now crossing the 25-year threshold, making them finally legal to import and own. The demand is surging as riders who spent decades admiring them from afar can finally experience what they missed. The RS-250 represents everything the EPA tried to suppress: raw, unfiltered, smoke-belching performance. Number 6. The Suitor 2010 500. What if someone took the spirit of two-stroke Grand Prix racing and built it today with modern materials and zero interest in regulatory compliance? That's the Suitor MMX 500. Launched in 2015 with production limited to 99 units, this track-focused machine packs a 576 cubic centimeter two-stroke V4, producing approximately 195 horsepower. The chassis uses Moto2-derived components with extensive carbon fiber. The starting price was around $123,000. The Suitor is explicitly neither road legal nor eligible for street registration in major markets. It's a brand new vehicle subject to current EPA standards, which means the two-stroke ban applies in full force. Here's the kicker. Because it was manufactured in 2015, it won't qualify for the 25-year import exemption until around 2040. The Suitor demonstrates that regardless of price, technological advancement, or exclusivity, the foundational EPA ruling against two-stroke combustion remains absolute. You can't buy your way out of federal emissions law, not even for $123,000. Number 5. The Yamaha RZV 500R. The Yamaha RZV 500R from the early 80s was Japan's answer to the question nobody in the EPA wanted asked: what if we built a streetable Grand Prix bike? This was the Japanese domestic market version of the RD 500 LC, built around a V4 two-stroke engine. Restricted models produced 63 horsepower. Non-restricted export versions made around 87. American racing legends praised it. American regulators banned it. The EPA's emissions standards made importation and certification impossible. The RZV 500R became the ultimate forbidden fruit for U.S. enthusiasts throughout the 80s and 90s. Fast forward to today. The earliest models now qualify under the 25-year exemption rule. What was once liable for seizure is now legally importable. The calendar was the only thing standing between collectors and these iconic machines. The RZV 500R proves that regulatory prohibition isn't always permanent. Sometimes you just need to wait long enough for the law to stop caring. Number 4. The Kawasaki Ninja H2R. Kawasaki built two versions of their supercharged flagship. The H2 is street legal, producing around 200 horsepower. Then there's the H2R, the track-only variant that Kawasaki specifically designed to be illegal. The H2R uses a sophisticated forced induction system to generate 326 horsepower with ram air. That's more power than most modern supercars. Riders report the front wheel lifting off the ground when shifting into fourth gear at 170 miles per hour. The bike can reach 249 miles per hour given enough room. It is explicitly, definitively not street legal in the USA. Multiple regulatory violations ensure this. It lacks mandatory road equipment like headlights, mirrors, and turn signals. The exhaust system exceeds federal noise limits. Emissions don't comply with EPA or CARB standards. Kawasaki made a deliberate choice. They could have detuned it for street legality like they did with the H2. Instead, they chose maximum performance and accepted the ban. The H2R exists because Kawasaki decided some machines should be too powerful for public roads. Owning one means owning a bike whose performance is intrinsically linked to its illegal status. Number 3. The MTTY 2K turbine bike. Marine Turbine Technologies looked at the motorcycle market and decided internal combustion was for amateurs. The Y2K series, in production since 2001, is the only production motorcycle powered by a jet engine. The original used a Rolls-Royce Allison 250 gas turbine, producing 320 horsepower. The later 420 RR variant generates an astronomical 420 horsepower at 52,000 RPM, alongside 500 pound-feet of torque. The claimed top speed is 274 miles per hour. Some highly limited examples have managed special state registrations through bureaucratic gymnastics. But the Y2K's illegal feeling comes from operational reality rather than federal prohibition. That turbine engine produces sound levels that exceed virtually every public road and track noise limitation. The heat output is extreme. The sensory experience is overwhelming. The Y2K's power is so massive that it creates a de facto ban through sheer impossibility. You might technically be able to register one in certain jurisdictions. Actually using it without attracting immediate law enforcement attention and noise violation citations is another matter entirely. Number 2, the Dodge Tomahawk. In 2003, Dodge unveiled something that broke the regulatory lexicon. The Tomahawk packs an 8.3-liter V10 engine borrowed directly from the Dodge Viper. That's 506.5 cubic inches of displacement, 500 horsepower, 525 pound-feet of torque, estimated 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. Theoretical top speed exceeding 300 miles per hour. Only 10 units were produced between 2003 and 2006. Each one sold for around $500,000. Here's the legal problem. The Tomahawk has 4 wheels, 2 closely spaced in front, 2 closely spaced in back. This configuration means it isn't a motorcycle under federal definition. It also doesn't qualify as a car. The vehicle exists in a definitional void. NHTSA never banned it because they couldn't figure out what category to ban it under. It was never capable of certification for road use because it doesn't fit into any existing vehicle classification. The Tomahawk is a rolling sculpture, a functional art piece that demonstrates what happens when engineers are given unlimited budget and zero interest in regulatory compliance. It feels illegal because it is fundamentally uncertifiable. The extremity of its engineering broke the law's ability to categorize it. Number 1, the Honda RC213 VS. Let's talk about the most expensive bait and switch in motorcycle history. In 2016, Honda did something unprecedented. They offered to sell you a MotoGP bike for the street. The RC213 VS was based directly on Marc Marquez's championship-winning GP machine. The base version came with a 999 cubic centimeter V4, producing about 100 horsepower. Perfectly legal, completely disappointing. But Honda had a solution. For an additional $12,000, they'd sell you the sports kit. This package transformed the bike into something approaching its GP roots, unleashing over 200 horsepower. Here's the catch. Installing the sports kit made the bike illegal for street use in virtually every major market. No EPA compliance, too loud for noise regulations. The exhaust and engine modifications violated federal standards. Honda literally sold you a street-legal bike, then sold you parts that made it illegal, while knowing full well that's exactly what would happen. The RC213 V-S in sports kit form exists in a legal gray zone. You own it legally. The parts are legal to purchase. Installing them violates federal law. It's the only motorcycle where the manufacturer actively helped you break the law, as long as you were willing to write a big enough check. That's the ultimate forbidden bike. One where illegality is a premium feature. Now that you've seen the bikes you can't legally own, maybe you're wondering what you should actually buy. Check out my video on 15 motorcycles that you can buy without hesitation in 2025, where I break down the bikes that won't land you in legal trouble or financial ruin.